Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Inside Track, EchoBase's weekly handicapping podcast, where we give our analysis, picks, and wagers for a couple of the weekend's top races. I'm your host, Ben Kudla, and I'm thrilled to welcome to the show for the first time Matt Miller, author of A Better Way of Thinking, 2021 BCBC Handicapping Champion, multiple NHC qualifier and veteran tournament horse player, who's won or placed for prize money in over 100 tournaments already this year. Huge congrats. Matt joins us to share his picks and analysis for a pair of Grade 1 races, as well as the 166th running of the King's Plate. So follow Matt on X at XMattMillerX. So Matt, thank you so much for being here. We've seen you on so many racing podcasts. We got to do the HHH last month together for the Diane. I just love what you bring to the table. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
All right. So that's humbling and really nice. And I had a good time too. Thank you. And yeah, hopefully this is, well, certainly it's authentic and real on my part, but hopefully it's a little different than what you get with a typical guest. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, I just love picking people's brains and hearing how they look at a race when they first see it and what they come up with. So I'm excited to get into your picks. But last week was another fantastic week of summer racing. The Colonial Downs Festival of Racing Day headlining the Ashton last Saturday. Gio Coso scored his first Grade Stakes victory in the Grade 2 Secretariat. Hope you listened to the Inside Track last week. Charlene's Dream, a Texas bred for the Ed Moger Jr. barn, went gate to wire in the Grade 2 Beverly D, just 0.76 seconds off the track record. Fort Washington won the Grade 1 Arlington Million. El Cador-Base punched his ticket to the Breeders' Cup Turf with his win in the Grade 1 Sword Dancer at Saratoga last Saturday, earning a 119 EchoBase speed figure, the highest of any horse in North America last week. Laurelyn remained a perfect 5 for 5 to start her career, winning that Grade 2 Saratoga Oaks for Grand Motion. Then Desert Gate dominated that Grade 3 Pascal Stakes by 8 3/4 lengths at Del Mar. But today's show, we'll be going over the Breeders' Cup Win and You're In Grade 1 EP Taylor Stakes and the $1 million King's Plate Stakes on Saturday's big card at Woodbine, along with our featured race of the week, the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. But before we dive into these fantastic races, the race to the NHC, series of free handicapping contests for active RaceLens subscribers, continues this Saturday on horseplayers.com. The top 2 finishers each weekly feeder contest will make it to the RaceLens Final 50 contest in February. The top 2 finishers in that contest will earn a seat to NHC 2026, plus a travel voucher and a 4-night stay. And I think we should add a little video. Well, if that doesn't crank you up for tournament play, I don't know what will. But, learn more and sign up to play at echobase.com.
Nice to see my buddy Dan Piazza in there.
Another Chicago guy. That's right. Yeah, he was just the kindest guy. I was out there at NHC this past year. I saw him in the lobby of the Horseshoe Casino after he won, and we just were talking back and forth. But good guy. But bunch of Chicago boys, Matt Miller, myself, and Dan Piazza. So there we go. It's where legends are born. But anyway, let's dive into the Grade 1 EP Taylor Stakes, 7th race at Woodbine on Saturday. Breeders' Cup Win and You're In for the filly and mare turf. 1.25 miles on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Last year's winner was Full Count Felicia by 3.5 lengths over Moira, at odds of 7-1 for trainer Kevin Attard with Kazushi Kimura aboard. Full Count Felicia went on to run 7th in the BC filly and mare turf to none other than Moira. So field of 7 in here, competing for the lion's share of the $750,000 purse. Matt, who did you land on in here?
So I'm going to confess, my handicapping methods have changed quite a bit over time. And having met all sorts of people that I can readily recognize are far better at this than I am, I've enlisted help from a couple friends. So the first was Paul Halloran over at HHH. So yes, I am cheating and looking over at his write-up that he was kind enough to do for me. This happens to be, for me, I'm going to call it kind of a medium kind of play. I mean, he starts off talking about she feels pretty, how she's going to be very tough to beat. She's really done nothing wrong. The extra furlong shouldn't be that big of a deal. No knocks on her. But, and then he gets into the pick being Diamond Rain. It is funny that William Buick won a great race at Saratoga last year. We happened to bump into him at Jonabell Farm the next day. And the hug he got from me almost took him out of racing. So excited. So I admit there's still a bit of a personal thing with him. But, Paul talks about the quote unquote slump for Charlie Appleby, which I don't really think is very real. And he's talking about really from a value perspective and from an odds perspective, this horse having the potential to be good value. And so for me, this is one, I'm going to call it a medium play because I'm really going to be focused on the tote board. The other aspect of my handicapping, and you can see my eyes shifting, is that, in addition to going to a couple of very trusted sources, one of those sources is Equine Edge. I'm definitely a user. It is, I could say all sorts of different things, but for me, it is almost like a Cliff Notes version of handicapping. It's a very quick way to help me identify spots. And this is absolutely the kind of race that I would, in addition to taking a friend's opinion, take a look. And what I'm finding interesting is I'm looking at Equine Edge. The pick is She Feels Pretty, but Equine Edge does its own morning line, and it's usually pretty darn good. And it shows both Diamond Rain and She Feels Pretty at 6-5 in the morning line. And so
wow, interesting.
Tells me there's potentially some value here on Diamond Rain. So let's see what the tote board looks like. I don't have a magic number, but if you're looking at 5-2, 3-1, something like that, if we get lucky, I'd feel terrific with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering what those mooring lines, obviously we don't have those out. We do have them for the King's Plate, but we don't have them for the EP Taylor. He was definitely on my list she was definitely on my list as well. Buick and Appleby are winning at 44% in all races at Woodbine, by the way, all time. Just like what?
Right.
And then obviously they're here to win these Breeders' Cup Challenge Series last week with El Cadorbes. I mean, that's a nice pick. I like that one a lot. What'd you think about the outside there? Ready for Cheryl. That's who I ended up landing on. I see you got her in third.
Yeah, and look, in fairness to Paul, he was so focused on the first two, he gave somewhat short shrift to third, basically by just saying she's a proven closer at shorter distances. Remain to be seen, at 1.25 miles. We'll see what happens. So it didn't look like there were any super positives or negatives from his perspective. I think he was really just looking at those top two, admitting that first one, She Feels Pretty, is more likely. But again, I think there's potential value. If Diamond Rain is at terrible odds and you're looking at Ready for Cheryl at something favorable, yeah, take your shot.
Yeah. No, you know what? And I'll go through the whole spiel. I got plenty of notes on Ready for Cheryl. So I landed on her. It's funny, Matt and he's got 3-4-7. I got 7-4-3. So we landed on pretty much the same exact trifecta. But Ready for Cheryl, 4-year-old More Than Ready filly out of 2011 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf winner. Perfect Cheryl. How cool is that for the Roger Atfield barn with Castellano coming in around? Castellano, he's winning at 46% in all races at Woodbine the last 5 years. 6 wins from 13 starts. Doesn't go up there a lot, but he goes up there to win. Ready for Cheryl spent most of her career at Woodbine, but she did break her maiden at Keeneland last April, winning a maiden special, going to mile 16th on the turf by 3.5 lengths over Pinup Betty, who won by 5 lengths in her next start and now has won multiple graded stakes since. She comes to Woodbine last May, trying the all-weather, ran well, finished second, entry-level allowance, goes back, got to the turf at the route distance, wins by 1.25 miles, goes into a little bit of a slump last summer and fall, finishing last in the Grade 3 Ontario Colleen Stakes, 4th in allowance, and then 9th in the Ontario Damsel Stakes in October. But she comes back in her 4-year-old season with a win at Gulfstream with Castellano aboard for his only mount aboard, Ready for Cheryl, then finishes a disappointing 7th at Grade 3 Honey Fox at Gulfstream in April, then 4th in allowance in May on the regular dirt for the first time, didn't take to it, and then comes back to Woodbine in May this year, runs 3rd in that Grade 3 Ball Mahone Stakes to Caitlin, her greatness, the 5 in here on the all-weather. Then her last start, they've just been incredible. In July, she finished second by just 3/4 of a length in that grade 2 Nassau Stakes, weaving through traffic and just couldn't get up in time, but she earned a 106 echo-based speed figure. She stretches out to that mile on an 8th last time out, wins that grade 2 Canadian Stakes by a head, with the 1 in here, Venecia, finishing 3rd. Repeated that 106 echo-based speed figure in the Canadian Stakes while steadily improving since March, ranked 2nd in a late pace rating of a 108.5 to only heavily favored She Feels Pretty. All-time, Matfield and Castellano, they do have 88 starts together with 16 wins, but they only have 5 starts together in the last 5 years. So kind of interesting that Castellano is going aboard. But yeah, like you said, I mean, tote board, this horse could be 5-6 to 1, I think.
I mean, between the two of us, I'm shocked that I'm the one that's the lawyer. You just presented a fantastic case, very, very convincing. You tell a good story for sure. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting, just the different handicapping approaches different people have, and boy, was that well presented.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's cool. Yeah, a lawyer. Yeah, I was thinking about going to law school way back in the day, but I went with the horse route instead. And now this is my first ever office job off the farm. So here we are. But, and then, yeah, I mean, She Feels Pretty. Geez. You know, though, I'm proud of myself. I beat her last time with an excellent truth. But geez, to try to beat her again, it's gonna be a little bit tough. I mean, 1 for 1 at Woodbine.
And I would say, from a betting perspective, this is not the kind of race where you can take her and another. I mean, I think if you want to try to beat her and you want to take our 2 picks instead, go ahead. I think you're going to get great value, especially in multi-race bets that way. But this is not the kind of race that I'd look at and say spread. You're just not creating any value on a ticket if you.
Yeah, and in a 7-horse field, I mean, yeah, million percent agree. And especially if Diamond Rain is going to be that low as well. I mean, you know, I do like Diamond Rain though. 4 for 6 lifetime, 3 stakes wins, 2 for 3 at this 1.25 mile distance. Yeah, could be really, really tough in here. That Diamond Rain.
It's only. I think it's the price that might end up scaring me away. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think with all that money going on, She Feels Pretty, and maybe a lot with the Appleby Godolphin Buick connection. Maybe perfect, not perfect. Cheryl, Ready for Cheryl will be maybe 7-8 to 1. Which at that point we'll do a win bet for sure. You got to back it up.
Agreed.
But anyway, let's move on to the 166th running of the $1 million Kings Plate Stakes, race 9 at Woodbine on Saturday. The first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, the second leg being the Prince of Wales Stakes at Fort Erie in September. The final leg is back at Woodbine for the Breeders' Stakes in October. So the Kings Plate, formerly known as the Queen's Plate when the Queen was alive, is 1.25 miles on the all-weather for 3-year-olds. Last year's winner was Caitlin Her Greatness for trainer Kevin Attard, with Rafael Manuel Hernandez aboard. Field of 13 Canadian breds on Saturday. Kevin Attard bringing in 3, although he might scratch the 1, and then Mark Cassie with 2 entries apiece. So who did you land on in the Kings Plate?
So it's funny, pre-show, you asked me for my top 3 in every race, and I said if we want to be a smarty pants about it, don't put up any picks for me. The reality is, from a betting perspective, this is not my kind of race. This one, my notes on this are courtesy of Jackson Muniz with.
I love Jackson.
I know you know Jackson. He's all over the place, actually. I got this write-up from him, I think, at 3 a.m. So okay, super nice of him.
Burning the midnight oil. Oh my goodness.
But boy, is this thoughtfully written. And he knows me pretty well, and basically says this is not your kind of race. This, for my betting style, completely the opposite of the other race. Completely wide open. Yeah. I'd be hesitant to take too short of a price on anyone, although I think the morning line favorite deserves to be that. And Jackson is one. I talk about handicapping the handicapper. He's one that if he takes a short price, if you are inclined to bet short price horses, that's one I would definitely look at hard, because he does that so begrudgingly. Well, he didn't do that here. He went with a bunch of price horses. So he went 4, 10, 13. I don't get the sense, by the way, that is intended to be a trifecta. I mean, I think those are the 3 most likely winners in his opinion. So I'm not sure I'd be messing around boxing those in exactas, although at this point, now that I said that, you probably should or have to. But he liked Scorching and said this was the horse he wanted coming out of a big prep race. And he makes a whole bunch of points about this not having a bunch of speed in the race, and so a bunch of chaos possibly ensuing. But okay, it's a wide open race, and I would I would tread carefully. I mean, I could read his notes, but I suspect you're going to have equally detailed. So I'm going to get to your picks on this one. What do you think?
Okay, all right. I went all prices. Okay, so I landed on Mancetti, morning line of 10-1. For Kevin Nataro, Petro Moran aboard.
So we're on 6 different horses. Am I seeing that?
We're on 6 different horses. 1, 7, 12, 4, 10, 13. It is a wide open race.
So,
I mean,
I'm just going to interrupt you rudely. Sorry, but I mean, if I'm listening to this show and right, I hear 6 different horses, and unless I hear something ultra convincing or whatever, from a betting perspective, this is where I jump in and urge caution and say this just can't be bet as hard as the other races today. You can't possibly have the same level of confidence here. By the way, if you do, bet the hell out of it, because you're going to get a terrific price. But otherwise, some races are more for watching and enjoying with a little action bet, and that feels to me more like the case here. But all right, let's hear your 3.
well, okay. I do want to say, I mean, it does give a great opportunity for value. I mean, if you do even just trust your gut, 10-1, 15-1, 21, just go for it. Even just 20, 2, 5, $10. We might as well just stick with your gut. And that's honestly where I landed with Mancetti. Went through everybody in the race and went right back to him. But he started his career at Woodbine, winning by a length and a quarter on debut, and made it special weight, going 6 furlongs on the all-weather. Goes right back to win the Clarendon Stakes at Woodbine, earning an 86 Echo-Base speed figure, going gate to wire, winning by a length and a quarter again. Goes to Aqueduct in January to try the regular dirt, just does not take it, finishing 5th by 25 lengths. Takes a 4-month layoff in the winter, comes back to Woodbine in late April to dominate that Woodstock Stakes by 4 lengths over Notorious Gangster, the 3 in here, earning a career best 96 Echo-Base speed figure. He did run 5th in the listed Queenston Stakes in June at Woodbine, which might deter some bettors. But if you look in the comments, you'll see he lost an iron at the break. So, I mean, and I know my boy, my favorite horse ever, Chance McPatrick, was able to win a grade 1 without an iron, but not this horse. So, I'm able to cross that one off. And then last time out, he runs in his first grade stakes company, winning the grade 3 Marine Stakes by a length, over Scorching, the 4 in here, and the 6 Sudbury's Ghost, who came back to win the Plate Trial Stakes in July, and Watsonville Road as well, the 9 in here with 50-1 morning line. But that was his last start, so he's coming off near 2-month layoff. But that win in the grade 3 Marine was his first time going 2 turns, so he definitely passed that test. First time going this distance, but it seems like the longer the better for this collected colt. 4 for 6, lifetime at Woodbine as well. I love 10-1 on that. There's my argument, my closing arguments.
Yeah,
I rest my case.
All right, so I'm looking now. I'm looking over at Equine Edge to see what they have to say, and this again, if you saw what I was looking at, screams pass unless you have a strong opinion. They've got your one horse as the second most likely winner with a distinct pace edge, and so frankly, that might be good enough to find good value on a horse like that. They're projecting 6-1, which I'm guessing you would take.
Oh yeah, I'd probably take anything over 4-1.
And so to have a likely leader in a race without a ton of pace, okay. I mean, that's right there. I think you got me. But otherwise, yes, I'm looking. I mean, it's funny. The horses that I gave you, one's got a 4% chance, another 11. There's no one here that's a standout, and so
same thing on Race Lens. It gives you a win probability percentage, and everybody's in the single digits. Yeah.
So I mean, it does tell you, to your point, you're definitely getting value. Definitely. And unlike the other race, I think this is a race where you can spread a little bit. I am a fan of the all button from time to time. I don't know if that's it here, or if this is one where you just take your top three and move on and say it wasn't meant to be if I miss, but I don't want to spend too much. But this definitely seems like one where it's quite appropriate to go a little deeper.
Yeah, I think this one's just a straight win bet type of race. I mean, you could go all day long with trying to do some key trifecta boxes, but yeah, I'll probably just do 20 to win on Mancetti. Anything over 4 to 1.
Yeah,
but
and when you admit that the race is so hard, okay, well, it's hard enough to pick the winner, and now you're telling me I've got to get second and third for exactas and tries.
Yeah, in a 13 horse field on the all weather with 3-year-olds, just Canadian breds running in pretty similar races against each other, and then you got like horses like the 7 here run away again, morning line at 12 to 1. And look at that horse, a different Attard, Sid Attard, who's Kevin Attard's uncle, by the way. I just looked that up before the show. But he's a hard spun gelding, Stronach Stables homebred, 1 star under his belt, ran that maiden special weight going a mile and 16th that was taken off the turf, run the all weather, broke last, broke slow, trailing the field the first 2 points of call. He started moving up between horses on the backstretch, closing like a freight train on the far outside in the final turn. Then he just turned on the jets, dominating by 9 1/4 lengths, earning an 84 Echo Base speed figure on career debut. And I did actually go back and looked in the GPS data, and he lengthened his stride in the final 1/8 of a mile. Mm-hmm. So on career debut, in Castellano aboard, he's winning 46%, like I said, at Woodbine. Really nice 6 furlong work and 112.4 on August 7th. All these like really nice horses, so much potential. Like, how do you bet that one? Where's that one? It's just easier just to kind of take a top play. But if you did hit the try in here, that would pay huge.
It would pay huge. And so maybe it's as simple as 1-7 all, 1 all 7, not trying too hard to get too cute with nailing all 3 spots, something like that. It'll still pay great. So
what this race kind of reminds me of is like an allowance at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah.
Full field, everybody's pretty evenly matched. You have no idea, how they're going to take to it. So, yeah. Then and then Sedberry's Ghost, another consistent one, 3 for 5 lifetime, the 12 on the outside. All 4 starts in the mid 80s. So the past 4 starts, Minshall hot, winning at 33% in the past month. I think that horse is going to be in a nice mid-pack position to close into some pace, if there is any. So I don't know. There's so many different
3 for 5. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now. I totally agree, and yet, Equine Edge has him at 7%.
yeah.
The morning line of 8 to 1, and there just seem to be a lot of stories like that. One of those is going to prove true, but this, from a potential standpoint, it almost has a Breeders' Cup feel, a 2-year-old Breeders' Cup race feel to it, where I have a feeling whoever wins, when you go back and look at the form, you'll say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, they're 3-year-olds, but yeah, honestly, on paper, they almost look like juveniles. Well, anyway, it will be a fantastic $1 million race regardless. But last but not least, let's head on over to the West Coast for the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. Race 8 on Saturday's card at Del Mar with a post time of 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Mile and 1/8 on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. Last year's winner was I Scream, You Scream for trainer Phil D'Amato with Hector Barrios aboard. Field of 11 on Saturday, plus an also eligible. Love this field out there at Del Mar. And you and I were texting about it. They're a very diversified connection, so that's great. But how do you kind of see the pace scenario going out with presumably the morning line favorite Thought Process out there in post 9? She's going to want to go. All
right. So if you're giving me a pace specific question, I'll give you a pace specific answer. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So Equine Edge has thought process with a distinct pace advantage. So that happens to be my top pick here. And it's just interesting, the 3 races you picked. And this is another one from Jackson who was super helpful. And the guys helping me out know me. And so it's just interesting that even in his notes, he says, Matt, this is the kind of race that you're going to like. And he's completely right. And so I'm going to go off on a betting thing for a second. If I'm in a contest this is exactly the kind of race that I'm looking for if I've got 2 entries, because there are 2 strong favorites that I think tower over the rest of this field. Could be wrong, could be famous last words, we'll see. But between Thought Process and Lush Lips, I could see one entry going in one direction, the other in another. Yeah, and I think
that works out perfect, because you'll make your case for Thought Process, and I put Lush Lips on top.
So. All right, perfect. So, and Lush and Thought Process is my top pick. It's funny, you and I, as we waited for the entries to come out, these came out a little faster, and so
I know, yeah.
I took a look at this race first. Got the Thought Process and basically just closed it and said, yeah, this is exactly my kind of horse. So, again, distinguishing the 2 horses from the field. Jackson says they're 10 points faster than the rest of the field on time form alone. And so, okay, that's good enough for me. And by the way, if you are down to 1 contest entry, it's a perfect opportunity. Don't split the entry between the 2 picks and try and get too cute with, there's no spreading in contests like that. So pick one, hammer it in the contest, and play the other in cash to whatever extent you're scared. But if you do have 2 entries, again, it's a great spot to go in 2 different directions. So again, as Thought Process is concerned, completely dominant in all of her turf wins, has no equal out here on the West Coast. Only blemish was in the Breeders' Cup, and I tend to excuse those sorts of blemishes pretty readily.
And that was to Lake Victoria, the huge favorite, who was coming on the outside, and Thought Process. I mean, she held all the way up until like a 16th left.
Agreed. It's one of the best Euros to ever be sent here, and she ran a great race against her. So it's not exactly.
Yeah, honestly, the form doesn't. Yeah, she finished 9th, but if you go back and watch it, I mean, she ran tough.
Yeah, agreed. And nothing wrong in either start this year. Doubters will point to her failure to increase her speed figure. But that Del Mar race was never coming back fast on the clock. So believe me, he's thought this through. Clearly the horse to beat in his opinion, and the horse to beat and the horse to bet if the prices end up remotely similar. And that's the other key point is, I guess if one of them ended up being 2 to 3 times the price of the other, I might rethink that a bit. But otherwise, this is the kind of horse that's going to be this is a candidate for me to be a play of the day kind of horse.
Oh, fair. Okay. I'll play of the day. Okay. I like that. Yeah. No knocks on your horse. I mean, literally, she has done just about nothing wrong, besides the Breeders' Cup, like you said, and then her career debut was on dirt. So, no big deal. One thing, all right, I do want to bring up, which is kind of interesting. I was like you in between Lush Lips and Thought Process, but the fact that Hector Berrios chose the 2, maybe that's a good question for you then. Do you think he chose the 2, or did Rispoli want Thought Process?
It's tough to know. And these things are a lot more complicated than they seem to be. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's an allegiance to an owner. Sometimes there's a promise made from when a horse was born. Sometimes I don't think it's always as simple as the jockeys and their agents handicapping the race and choosing the better horse. So when it's Chad in a grade 1 sending out 3 horses, he tends to have his number 1 guy on his number 1 horse. And I think you can read more into that. Something like this, it's just tough to tell. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, I love how you said once you got to her on the page, you closed the form, because I was just about there too. But I decided to go with Lush Lips instead. So I'll make my case. A little Great Britain bred for the Brendan Walsh barn. Tyler Gaffleone coming in to ride. He has been in top form since returning to the saddle in July following that broken ankle in March. He's winning at 29% since he's gotten back. And he had a 6-win day with 4 stakes wins last Sunday at Ellis Park. So no, he's in peak form. But Lush Lips, she started her race career last July in Ireland, finishing 9th on career debut, going 7 furlongs on the turf, comes back to run 2nd in the maiden, also in Ireland last August, before making her way across the Atlantic over here to the States. The very tough North American debut at Kentucky Downs, finishing 9th in the maiden special. but horses for courses. Some love it, some hate it. So, but she switches to the Brendan Walsh barn after that Kentucky Downs race and comes back a couple months later in late November, puts blinkers on and just dominates the main special at Gulfstream, going a mile and 70 yards in the all-weather, earning an 86 Echo-Base speed figure. Comes back in January to win an entry-level allowance, going to mile 16th on the turf at Gulfstream by 2 lengths. Tyler Gaffalione, first time riding. Runs a very valiant effort in the Grade 3 Florida Oaks in March, nearly getting caught at the wire by Nitrogen, who I think is the best 3-year-old filly on turf in the country. Some people might differ, but that's just my opinion. She finished a very game second, running a 101 Echo-Base speed figure. And following that second place finish, she scratched out of the Grade 2 Appalachian at Keeneland in April to run in the Grade 2 Edgewood at Churchill in May, and this time tried to close into Nitrogen, but again was just second best, finishing second by 3.5 lengths. And last time she kicked clear to win the grade, or not the grade, but the listed Tepin Stakes at Churchill by 3 3/4 lengths, earning a career best 107. Echo-Base speed figure. That 107 is the best of any horse entered in here, and the best last out Echo-Base speed figure. So a little race lens angle. Horses in grade stakes races with the highest last race Echo-Base speed figure in the race are winning at 29% last 6 months, 87 wins from 301 starts. She also has the highest late pace rating in the race as well, the 107.5. Another race lens angle, all the stats. Horses in turf route graded stakes races with the highest late pace rating in the field are winning at 31% in the past 6 months, 25 wins from 80 starts. If this filly is the second best to Nitrogen, best filly, turf filly in the country, then Lush Lift should absolutely air on Saturday. I just don't see any reason why not. And Gaffalione rarely goes out to Del Mar, but he has made this move in the past with a horse based in Kentucky going out to Del Mar to win the Del Mar Oaks. He did that with Spenderella back in 2022 for trainer Grand Motion. So I think these guys are here to win. They're not just shipping out there for nothing. There's my argument.
All right. So you scared me enough that I'm at least reducing how much I'm betting.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
You make a good case, although frankly, you talk so smoothly about all this that I think you could make anyone sound decent. So take that as a
Well, I will. I appreciate that. Yeah. No, we're up and at 'em early this morning to try to get these handicapped.
Well, and look, again, we talked about it a little bit before, but it's a question of how you choose to bet these and in what format. CAWs are a topic of the day, quite a bit. And I talk, I'm pretty quick to mention that I think contests are one way to somewhat mitigate the impact of the CAW. So as I look at some of these races, I'm looking at them through the lens of, can I get them into is there a contest today where I can, where I'll be able to play these races? And yes, I think, if memory serves, I think there's a couple different contests that cover the Woodbine card. I can't remember offhand if there's one for Del Mar or not, but the bottom line is these contests are a nice way to play these horses, especially if you're prepared to really pound your opinion. It's almost like that prize pool gives you a profit boost on what you were going to bet anyway. So
speaking of contests, if anybody out there lives in Lexington, every Friday I go out to Red Mile and do a little contest, and it's just Del Mar. So they do just Turfway in the winter, just Del Mar every Friday in the summer, and it's just $2 win place bet, and it's like a first place is like $1,000 or whatever. These are a couple hundred people usually play. So please come on out this Friday and join me at the luxurious Red Mile for some Del Mar action. But no, it really is just contest, just a great way to play a full day of racing for like $20, just really have a good time with it. So I encourage everybody to start on contests if you haven't already, or try to race the NHC if you're an active Race Lens subscriber. So Matt, thank you so much for being on. This has just been a blast hearing your thoughts on these races, and everybody, good luck in your wagers this weekend, and we'll see you next week.